Hello, everyone. I'm Megan Sullivan, and welcome to my honest thoughts about Avowed, developed by Obsidian and published by Xbox Game Studios. I'll be reviewing the Xbox Series version of the game, which is available right now on Game Pass. So, buckle up, this is going to be a ride. And right off the bat, I just want to say that Avowed is an extremely forgettable game. But is that really such a bad thing? And why then do I enthusiastically recommend it? Well, let's talk about that. But first, what is Avowed? It's a first-person action RPG that takes place in the Pillars of Eternity universe. You, the player character, are a godlike, a special being imbued with the innate abilities of one of the many gods of Eora. But which one? At the start of the game, it's a total mystery. All you know is your name, your backstory, which you decide in the character creator, and that you are the Emperor's special envoy. Your mission as a special envoy is to go to the Living Lands and investigate the Dream Scourge, a terrible plague ravaging every living creature in the area. While investigating this ecological disaster, you also learn that the locals hate the Empire and want you, yes you, and everyone else to leave. So now you must take sides in a local conflict, which of course is multi-layered, while trying to unravel the mystery of the Dream Scourge and also the mystery of a voice in your head that speaks in riddles and won't leave you alone. And the way you do this is to explore the colorful and extremely impressive Living Lands. The map is huge, poking into every nook and cranny, accepting every bounty, and helping every NPC to get a clear picture of what's happening. If you're a fan of Pillars of Eternity and its lore, just know there's a lot of lore books and notes scattered about that you'll probably enjoy reading. How long it will take you to read all these notes and unspool the mysteries of the Living Lands depends on how you approach the game. Completion times for Avowed vary wildly. The main campaign is something like 15 to 20 hours to complete if you blaze through it, but I've seen people clock in at around 50 plus hours because they've done lots of side quests and lots of exploring. Completion will also depend on your chosen difficulty level. You can zip through the story on game mode, or crank the difficulty all the way up for a proper challenge, though it may take you longer to get to the end. For the sake of time and to get through the story faster, I actually turned the difficulty down. But I've also done a bit of bounty hunting, helped look for some lost explorers, and helped one of my party members come to terms with their difficult past. And I need to stress there's plenty to do and see in this Pillars of Eternity spin-off. So what do I think? Well, first let me just say, this isn't the most original RPG I've played. In fact, Avowed is obsessed with ticking off every box in the RPG playlist you can imagine. These RPG features include quippy party members who banter nonstop while you're out exploring, dialogue options and choices that determine how your crew and NPCs in general view you, a camp where you can talk to party members and get to know them better, a cooking station where you can whip up stat boosting and healing meals, and a forge where you can craft and upgrade special gear. Avowed also features weapons and armor with upgradable base stats that are determined by their rarity or special qualities, ability points that can be used to unlock different vocational skills or upgrade attributes like strength, wisdom, dexterity, etc. Avowed features tons and tons of dense lore, tons of words in a made-up language you'll never remember, a small variety of fantasy races, some of which you've seen and some of which you haven't, spells and items that help you navigate the environment, a variety of melee and ranged weapons, a bounty board, and of course, towns full of NPCs and their endless side quests. Despite this game being made by Obsidian, there's almost nothing here you haven't already experienced. If you've played Mass Effect or Dragon Age, if you've played Skyrim, if you've played Baldur's Gate 3, and of course if you've played another Obsidian RPG, this is all familiar to you. Even the story and character archetypes are old hat, which means that unless you're already invested in the Pillars of Eternity franchise, and I acknowledge many of you are, so this may not apply to you, it's all extremely forgettable. No joke, I can only remember one party member's name off the top of my head right now, and that's Kai. Mostly because A, the name is just easy to remember, and B, Kai is voiced by none other than Brandon Keener, aka Garrus Vakarian from Mass Effect. I love Mass Effect, and I love Garrus, and for this reason alone, Kai went everywhere my envoy went, even when his skills didn't necessarily balance out my party. But while Garrus is memorable, Kai unfortunately is not. None of my team members are, and yet they all put a smile on my face. And that's because of some great voice acting. The voice actors really put a lot of thought and emotion into the line reads, and I appreciate that. And you know what else I appreciate? How fun this game is. No, it's not all that original. And yeah, at the end of the day, if you're like me and you're not already invested in Pillars of Eternity, it's pretty forgettable. And yet I'm having a blast playing it. Avowed is just so fun, and it's not just because of the many choices you can make, the smooth platforming, the snappy, enjoyable combat, which lets you use a variety of weapons that look and feel appreciably different. Shout out to firearms, they're actually really fun in this game. And of course, the amusing party banter. What I really like about Avowed is how accessible it is to RPG casuals. You don't have to struggle to understand where to go or what to do in Avowed. Your objectives are marked clearly on the map. You don't have to be in camp to break down gear you find out in the wild. You can just break it down wherever and whenever and not have to worry about lugging it around. You can respec your skill tree at any time, dabble in any and every vocation, so good flexibility on builds, use any high quality weapons at any time, quickly fast travel to anywhere you've already been, and just wander. It's not a super deep RPG in terms of mechanics, but it's streamlined and easy to understand with a fun loot collecting loop, and that is exactly what I've been in the mood for. Avowed is RPG comfort food. Not that it's without its technical issues, however. The visual fidelity for character models is pretty meh. Sometimes voice lines and dialogue won't trigger, the user interface and menu system is a pain to navigate, oh, and the game crashed on me once. It's just not as polished as it could be, which is pretty disappointing. But since Avowed released on Game Pass, I didn't have a reason to ignore it, and I'm glad I didn't. It feels good to play. So what I'm saying is that Avowed being forgettable shouldn't stop you from playing it. It's fun, and at the end of the day, that's really all that matters. So go play the game and have fun. Thanks so much for watching, guys. See you later.
You know, for most people, getting sent to the Living Lands is a punishment. But, according to Steenrick, you're the personal envoy of the Emperor of Adir himself. Quite a position. You must have gone through one of Adir's famous academies. I can't imagine you had time for much other than your studies, so tell me, is this your first time getting dirt under your fingernails? A word of advice, then. Practical application in the Living Lands usually involves a dagger, or bow, or baking mold, if that's all you have on hand. Don't ask. What I really want to know, since hard questions are your specialty, is why the Emperor would send his best scholar all the way to the Living Lands.